Hey, everybody, it's Jeff here once again with the Freedom Nation podcast. And today we've got a special guest on, Josh Miller. He's out of Houston, Texas. He is the head of a real estate brokerage company, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his story, moving from the marketing world into real estate a few years back. So, Josh, welcome to the show, my friend.
Man, I'm so excited to be here because I actually listened to your podcast, so I was like, yes, I'm going to be on. Awesome. So I've
That's
been waiting
awesome.
for it. I've been waiting for a while, so I'm
I
really
appreciate that, man. It's fun, and I love what I do, and I love having you on here. So we had a chance to talk a little bit beforehand. Just exciting to hear, the growth of your brokerage. So why don't you start off? Tell us a little bit about your story.
yeah. And I want to congratulate you by knowing how to say Epic Realty when we first started talking because it's spelled so correct. For those of you who don't not looking at a screen, it's Epique, right? So I hear it all. I hear Epique, Epique, Epic. I'm in Texas, so I hear Epique a
Yeah,
lot. And then one lady about 2 weeks ago called it Epiqua.
Epique. Okay, well that'll be when you go to Louisiana.
Right,
It'll be
exactly.
Epique.
It was
Yeah,
very French, I was
yeah.
thinking very French. So I was like, wow, that's really fancy. Maybe it should be Epiqua. But yeah, it's just epic. We're just kind of obnoxious with our spelling. But thanks for getting that right. Yeah, so I'm here in Houston, and yeah, I guess I don't remember your question, but
Well, let's get your story. How did you go from the marketing world to the realty world?
yeah, so I had a really amazing job in marketing, and I was doing marketing for four big companies. I was a CMO,
Okay.
Chief Marketing Officer, and so I was doing everything from building websites, and I'm a self-taught app developer, and so I was building apps and websites and billboards and radio commercials and TV and all of this really really fun stuff, and it was a great job, and I loved it. But at the end of the day, it was kind of like, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate, kind of like a gilded cage, right? In a
Yeah.
lot of ways, it was great. I was making great money. My boss was the most amazing boss I'd ever had in my entire life, the owner of the company, and he was just, and he's a friend now. He's just
Mhm.
amazing, and so. But at the end of the day, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and if you're an entrepreneur and you have that motivation, you know what I'm talking about. You just can't
Mhm.
not be an entrepreneur. And an opportunity came to finally use my real estate license and to
Mhm.
and to do real estate, and I started doing it. And so
Okay.
I started off doing real estate while doing this job because I didn't really have a
Okay.
schedule.
That was for my first
Yeah,
question was, yeah, did you start off doing that first?
yeah,
Yeah.
because my job was project based, right? So
Okay.
marketing, a lot of it's just everything's due yesterday, but it's project by project, right? So we're doing just these projects, and so if I had time, if I could go, I would just go show houses and things
Mhm.
like that. So I got a lot of experience doing that, and I did that for quite a long time. And but then I decided I want to jump in, with both feet and actually turn it into a career. And so I did that, and it was scary, of course, right? Because I had
Mhm.
this great job, and people were telling me, "Why would you leave this job? This is what people want. You have autonomy, you make
Yeah.
money, you have a great boss, you actually enjoy your work. Like, well," and I said, "I know, but I just want to do, my
Yeah.
own thing, and even if I fail, I just don't want to
Yeah.
do it." So, yeah, so I started doing real estate. And I was a real estate agent for a long time. Had
Nice.
a team here in Houston, and it was great. And I definitely enjoyed it. And until I kind of got the bug again, like, am I on my own or am I part of somebody else's company? I
Mhm.
really started thinking about, like, I'm at these brokerages and is this really my own thing, or am I still just part of somebody else's thing? Which is fine. I was entrepreneurial enough. You're an independent contractor, right? That's real
Mhm.
estate. So, but I also became aware of just a big hole missing in the industry, and there were a few things that I found out about in the industry. They didn't sit right with me, and I was like, I think some of this is just. I think if you're not a real estate agent, you have absolutely no idea how some of this actually works with a real estate brokerage. Because I've heard so many people who say, "Oh, you work with that company? Oh, they're a good company," and I
Mhm.
hired an agent from their company for that reason. I'm thinking, that's not how that works. You don't.
Yeah.
Or I'll see on movies where a real estate agent gets called into their boss's office. They're trying to get a promotion, and they call their boss's office and reprimanded. I'm thinking, you just have a promotion. You're in.
Yeah.
What are you promoted to? Your
Yeah.
boss
Guess
is
what?
your
You're a
boss.
realtor.
Yeah, you're an independent contractor. There's no promotion. What are they going to promote you to? You work for yourself,
Yeah.
essentially. And then, then you're going to get What are they going to do? You know what I mean? They could let you go. You'll just go to a different real estate
Yeah.
broker. So when
And most of the time, people have already left before that happens, anyhow. So,
yeah, exactly. And then also, like, are they going to call you into this office? Most of them are never even in the office, and
mhm.
most brokerages nowadays don't even have offices. So
Yeah.
it's just when you see it on TV, it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
It's funny. I own co-working spaces, and I've got 4 real estate brokerages that work out of my office,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
in one office. And, I mean, you may see an agent once in a blue moon, but I mean, it's basically just a location for them to
Yeah.
say, okay, in the MLS, they have a location.
And it's because real estate used to be an office job because they used to
Yeah.
set real estate offices on busy streets. Like
Hmm.
when I lived in Boston, you would see this because people would walk by and they would come and they'd look at listing sheets on the window and they'd
Oh,
come
yeah.
talk to an agent, right? And there was also a time where you'd go to the office with your agent and you'd look through this big book, a listing book, right? And
Hmm.
it'd be all the homes that were listed. Well, then there's this new thing that maybe all of you have heard of. It's called the internet, and that replaced the big book because we
Yeah.
had websites where you could just show the homes. And
Hmm.
so now you could just go to a million different websites and just look at houses, right? So you don't need to go in to look at the book. Well, then people are still going in the office to sign paperwork because you need a
Hmm.
signature on things.
Sure.
Well, for about 20 something years now, we've had DocuSign.
Hmm.
Now customers expect it,
Yeah.
and they expect it. And every real estate deal now is just done through DocuSign or
Hmm.
something similar, like Zip Forms or something. But a DocuSign situation that people expect to be able to do right from their phone. They just
Yeah.
sort of tap it.
They want the convenience of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then everything's all, money's being wired. There's no dropping off checks. So there really just is no need to go into
Hmm.
to an agent's office anymore. So it's become the situation where real estate agent, it's become a field position. You're in the
Yeah.
field. So you are showing houses, you are at listing appointments, looking at homes that where they want to sell it, or you're meeting a client usually at some kind of house for some reason.
Hmm.
And if you have some work, you're doing it from your laptop on your couch or in your homemade office or at a co-work space. We have
Yeah.
agents who do that just because maybe their house is a little hectic. There's a lot of kids
Hmm.
or just distractions, and so they enjoy a workspace.
Sometimes I think it's just for them to get away from everybody and, okay, I just need a place to go.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. So there's a benefit in that way, but it's never a place you'll meet a client. And what's funny
Yeah.
is because of the way TV has made it out to be, when I interview a brand new agent,
Mm.
they're the only ones who ever ask me the question, what about an office? Because if you've been an agent for longer than a year, they're not asking because they don't care because they're never going to go.
Mm.
It's only the new ones like, oh, I want to go in the office and shadow somebody. I'm like, no one's at an office.
Yeah. There's no shadowing
And they
here.
want to shadow like a top agent. I'm like, top agents are not at home. They're on listing appointments,
Yeah.
and they're showing homes. They are not. And if they have any free time at all, they're trying to have a life.
Yeah.
You know, they're not trying to go into an office and just spin their
Yeah.
wheels.
Yeah. Because guess what? They get to be out when everybody else is off work. So
Yeah.
they don't have a life with their families.
Right. So it's like a Tuesday, and they're trying to chill for a
Yeah.
minute, because they just had a crazy weekend,
Yeah.
but or a busy weekend. But yeah, the only people who are at offices are support staff for your
Sure.
brokerage, right? So your
Yeah.
marketing people, your support people. But yeah, it's something totally different than most people even realize. But there's more to it. There's a weird side of real estate that people don't know that only agents kind of see. And
Mm.
I'll give you an example. So when I first got my license, I went to interview with this brokerage, and I'm not gonna say what company. Let's just say it's a really big company,
Yeah.
okay? And they are well known for their training. Okay, there's a
Yeah.
really big company, so they take on a lot of new agents. So they said, can you come in for an interview? So what do? I put on like a nice suit. I'm like dressed up. I have a list of questions that I found on the internet to ask. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to ask all these questions. So I go up there, and to my shock, there were 12 other people there for an interview all at the same time. It was a group interview. Okay,
Mm.
so
Oh
I'm like,
God.
okay, well, this is weird. And so one thing that you don't realize until after school is you think that they're going to interview you for their brokerage,
Mm.
right? These big companies. What you don't realize is they basically they were going to take me if I had as long as I had a license, $99 in a heartbeat. I was in. I was in. And so these people are not interviewing agents to bring on the best people. They're bringing on whoever. Now, if you turn out to be terrible, they can of course let you go, right? If you
Mm,
start breaking rules, breaking laws, whatever, they
yeah.
can let you go. But they're not pre-screening you, right? You have your
No.
license. You're pre-screened by the state, so you have no criminal background. You know, all that's already checked by the state, so they know if you have your license, that part's good. But they're not. If you have $100, you're in.
Mm,
And so I'm there, very confused. And so the lady tells us literally nothing about the company. I guess she just expected they were so famous that they would never need to tell anybody what they actually do. So of course, I had my long list, right? 30 questions,
mhm.
crazy long list.
Nobody's ever asked him a question before either.
Oh,
So,
sure, absolutely. So she said, "Does anybody have any questions?" Right? And I'm like, I looked down at my paper. I'm like, "Yeah, I got 30." Every person in the room, it's crickets, right? Nobody has a question. And I'm like, "Oh, great! I got to be that guy,
yeah.
the guy with 30 questions." Okay. So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna ask something, you know." So I
Mhm.
raised my hand. And I said, "Okay, I'll just ask one. I have one. I'll just ask the one." And so the question was, uh, "You guys are getting 30% of my commission.
Mm,
You're getting another 6% for a franchise fee. Don't know what that means.
mm.
And then you guys are giving me 10% for a coach that I have to pay for because I'm a new agent for the first year.
There we
So
go.
46% plus there's all these other like little fees like insurance fees and broker review fees, compliance fees, whatever. It's basically
Yeah.
half my commission. So I guess my question is, are you guys going to be doing half the work or I mean, or is this more like the government where like I pay in and I don't
I don't
necessarily get
really get anything back out of it.
like
Yeah.
how does and she kind of laughed a little bit at me. She was like, "Yeah, no, we're not going to be doing your work for you. You're an independent contractor. You know, this is your job. But if you have any questions, let us know. We'll be glad to help." And then I realized, so not only are they not doing, and by the way, what did I know? I had been an agent for like 6 seconds. Okay, I
Mm,
had no clue, and so I realized that not only is there no standards to bringing people in,
mm,
for one, for two, their ability to help me was reactive. So it's
mm.
based on me having to reach out to them with questions, right? No
Okay.
way, no, not really told how to reach out. Found out later that I could reach out via email, and that I would be replied to within 2 to 3 days. Which, by the way, is terrible when you have a client saying, "How does this? What happens if I want to do a 1031 exchange?" And you're like, "Oh, what?"
Crickets, crickets, crickets.
Yeah, you're like, "Oh, what? Oh, let me. I'm not really sure. I haven't done one of those, but I can check with my broker." And then you send them an email, and then you have to
Yeah.
let them know 72 hours later, which is terrible, right? Because you just look stupid, and not only do you look stupid, you look like you have no one to turn to either. So
Yeah.
what it ends up with a lot of agents, and my story, by the way, is not unique. What
Yeah.
happens is you end up learning on the job, and
Hmm.
your real teacher becomes Google.
Yeah.
Right. So I took their class, they had this initial class when you first become an agent for that brokerage. They were known
Hmm.
as the training brokerage. I took it was 3 day class in which they basically just taught me how to market myself. That was it. Not how to be an agent. I learned how to knock on doors. I learned how to call and harass my friends and family, my sphere of influence. I learned, uh, I learned basically that kind of stuff, but not how to actually be an agent, right? And
Hmm.
not any tips or anything like that. They went over ethics and all the stuff so that they won't get sued one day. So
Hmm.
all the stuff I shouldn't do so that they don't get sued. That's what I learned. Then they said, well, we have this other class you could take. It's a week long. And I said, oh, okay, maybe I should take that. And they're like, yeah, it's $1,500. I'm like, I joined you guys because of the training. Now you're telling me it costs money, right?
You
$1,500. They
didn't
wanted me to bring
realize we're not really a real estate brokerage. We're actually a training company.
pretty much. I definitely felt like I was the product.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, they're selling training, they're selling sponsorship, they're selling a bunch of things, and so this is not what I thought it was going to be. Where I was going to be a part of a company that cared, that we're all a team and we're all working together, and I got a supervisor who's got my back and a coach who's
Yeah.
there to help and all that stuff. And it didn't feel like that, and so I floated around. I went. So that's by the way, this is not a unique story, and this is not
Mm.
unique to this one brokerage. I found out this is just how the industry works,
Yeah.
and so the idea, the way that it works, is that it is a sink or swim environment,
Hmm.
and that's okay. I'm fine with that because I actually kind of enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, But it's a sink or swim environment. But the problem is when you have a sink or swim environment, the only people who survive are sharks,
Yeah.
right? Because they can swim.
Mhm.
Right? They can swim all day and they'll make it. And what happens is that,
Well,
but the problem
well,
is,
and if you know anything about sharks, they have to keep swimming, otherwise they drown. So,
yes, they have to keep swimming, or they'll drown and they gobble up all the little fish around them.
yeah.
And the problem is that most real estate agents are not sharks. People get their
Mhm.
license. They're people. They're your aunts, your uncles, your people you go to church with, people you go to, people you're friends with, ex coworkers who get their license. These are just regular people, right? Who
Mhm.
are trying to also put bread on the table and try to provide for their family.
Yeah.
And but what happens is that they get gobbled, all the deals get gobbled up by these sharks, and it just makes it really hard for these people who they are great agents.
Mhm.
They just don't know how to be sharks. Okay, and then you think, okay, well maybe sharks are better for the buyers
Yeah.
and a lot of times the sharks that I know, they're in it for the next deal. They're not
Yeah.
necessarily in it for their clients. I know a lot of people who aren't sharks, and when they have a client, it's everything. It's about that client. They will work their butt off for that client. They'll put in the late hours on one person.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't really equate. Being a shark is fine. We're nothing against that. But it doesn't equate to being a good agent,
Mhm.
right? So just because you do a lot of business doesn't make you a great agent. Just like Taco Bell being the number one Mexican food restaurant doesn't make it the best Mexican
Yeah.
food. It just happens to be the number
It just
one.
means they have a lot of
They
them
just do a
around.
lot of business.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all it means. All right. So there's not this kind of equation. There are sharks, there are great ones, there are terrible ones. Then there are regular agents who are great and terrible. Right. It's an
Mhm.
individual thing. But anyway, so it's a very reactive kind of environment,
Mhm.
a sink or swim environment in which there's no hand up really, and there was no real proactive help.
Mhm.
And so we were coming up with the idea for Epic. The idea was like, what would it look like? Hear me out. This is going to sound crazy.
Yeah.
What would it look like if the brokerage did some work?
Yeah.
I know, it's crazy.
I know this is shocking and
I
all,
know,
but
I went too far. Okay, I'm dreaming big here. What would it look like if the brokerage actually did something?
Mhm.
Anything, anything. And so that was that. And then what would happen instead of being reactive? The agent has to reach out to us with a question. We were proactive, and we reach out to
Mhm.
them. What would that be like? Could we do that? How does that look?
Mhm.
And so we started devising the way that we kind of do this. It took us about a year to a year and a half just to build the structure of something that had never been done. The idea was to take this top-down situation where you have
Mhm.
the broker owner. By the way, if you're at a big company, big international known company, chances are you're at a franchise. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a broker owner, and they run things kind of the same, their own way, and every office is completely. I've seen different offices, and they are ran totally different sometimes. So don't you can't really go by the name. That's why people are like, I go by that name. I'm like, why? I mean, every
Yeah.
office is different, So, but and then there's teams inside offices, inside companies.
Yeah.
That team may be
That
awesome.
they run differently from everybody else. Yeah.
They run their own thing. Some have their own technology, their own benefits, their own everything they do for their clients, totally different than the office, which is totally different than the company, right?
Mm.
So you never know. You have to just interview people.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was like, okay, so what would this look like? What could we do? What work could we do for the agents? And so we just started coming up with a long list of just like a wish list, right? Like we're agents.
Mm.
This is what would this company look like if agents created their own brokerage, right? And we just gave ourselves whatever we wanted. What would that look like, right? So then it started off with like, how about some free leads? Buyers and sellers looking for people, and a lot of agents don't realize that'll be the hardest part of your job is
Yeah.
finding people who actually
Is
want to buy.
marketing. Yeah.
You actually have to find people. I actually had one guy who interviewed with me a couple months ago, and he said, I said, so what makes you get into real estate? He goes, well, selling cars, and I thought I would
Mhm.
sell something more expensive. And I said, well, I get
Okay.
that. Okay, I mean it makes sense. It requires kind of people skills to sell cars. I was like, but you know that this is going to be totally different. He goes, well, I figure it's going to be about the same. I said, when you sell cars, you're at a dealership. People come in
Mhm.
to buy a car that you
Yeah.
have. I was
You
like,
don't go out and find those.
oh yeah. I was like, imagine that you had to sell cars, but there was no lot
Mhm.
at all and no office, and you were just at home trying to sell cars.
Yeah.
How do you do that? You have to go knock on doors and say, "Hey, would you like to buy a car?"
Mhm.
Now you are a realtor. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest job. So the first thing we said was, what would it be like? Okay, so what do we want? And so the first thing was like, all right, leads, right? Could
Mhm.
we provide leads? Now that's not unique. There are plenty of teams, not a lot of brokerages, very, very few brokerages, like less than 1% that actually provide leads.
Mhm.
And you can get these
Well,
leads from
they'll sell them to you, but
yeah, and so well, usually it's teams, and what
Mhm.
they'll do is you can buy your own leads for companies like Zillow and Trulia and stuff like that. That's why I tell people don't go, and I don't want to badmouth anybody, but I will say when you go to these big sites like this and you put in your information, they're selling your information to me, to us, to agents. They sell
Yeah,
your phone number, your email address, your name, and everything you've looked at to the highest bidder. Okay,
yeah,
so I would just say, think about it. You
yeah.
should whose website you're on, okay? Because these really big companies, they're into data mining. And so
Mhm.
what they do is they're going to take you and sell you up to the highest bidder. And a lot of times what happens is when you as an agent sign up to get like Zillow leads or something, is you buy a zip code
Mhm.
and you get all the leads from that zip code, but you share it with 9 other agents. So it's
Yeah,
10 per zip code. So when you go to Zillow and you set up a new account and you start looking at homes, you're going to get a whole bunch of calls. You know why?
yeah,
Because 10 people have paid for that zip code.
yeah.
They not only sold your information, they sold it 10 times. I just
And
want to
you're
throw that
just
out
going to get
there.
hammered nonstop
For
until,
sure. For sure, for sure. So I want to use my marketing background to help us get leads, right? So we
okay,
found the cheap ways to get leads instead of buying them from one of these big companies. We generate them ourselves, right?
nice.
So we provide leads directly to our agents. So we're like, well, what else? It's like, well, we could install their signs for them. That's kind of a pain in the butt to go out there.
Mhm.
And so we're actually physically out there hammering signs into the ground and hanging signs. And then when home sales picking up and storing them, then we're
Mhm.
like, well, we'll also pay for the signs. And it's like, well, the
Okay.
posts are expensive. Posts are like $100. We'll pay for that. Okay, let's pay for
Mhm.
that. So it became listing photos, signs, sign installation and removal. Listing photos, we got a photographer who started doing stuff. Then it's like, and leads. And then the list got crazy. They were like,
Mhm.
okay, let's add a bunch of stuff. What else we got? It's like, how about a car wash membership? Keep your car clean because you don't have to meet clients. You don't want to show up in a dirty car. Okay, cool. So now our agents have like unlimited, car wash, our car washes or whatever, right? So then it was like, what else? What else can we offer now? Uh, of course, there's like big benefits that would be
Mhm.
really really cool, like healthcare, and I will
Okay.
talk about that because we did just add that
Brilliant.
last week actually. But we wanted to offer things like daily training,
Okay.
daily live training. We also wanted to have one-on-one mentorship. So I told you about how the first brokerage I went to they had a coach. Let me tell
Mhm.
you about this. So I said, okay, I have a coach. That's cool, awesome. Uh, I uh, I was like, how do I get in contact with my coach? Like, well, you get a link and you can schedule on her calendar. So I click on her calendar and I schedule it, and it's, like 2 weeks away. So I schedule my appointment. And then it was like, that's the way it was. I was only allowed to meet with her once a week at most.
Okay.
And there was no way to call her or text her or get a hold of her or anything. And so it wasn't coaching. You know what it was? Real estate therapy. Because
Yeah.
I go into her office and I'd lay on her couch and I'd tell her about all the problems I had all week long with real estate or all the last 2 weeks, whatever. And then she would take all that information, she'd feed me back some good advice, right? That was it. It was real estate therapy. It was not real estate coaching or mentoring, right? So it was a little different. So we wanted to have mentors. Like how
Okay.
do we have like so we are the first brokerage to offer completely free coaching.
Okay.
So we actually have
Nice.
hired coaches, mentors, and we let them do one-on-one. So the mentors actually they supply their cell phone number. So this way
Nice.
you can call them, text them, meet up with them. This is like a one-on-one person that you have. So no longer do you have to schedule 2 weeks in advance to have a 30
Mhm.
minute conversation. You can actually just call. I got a question. Text. Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
Right. So we want to have like that kind of level of
Now,
support.
are these uh, mentors? Are they producing agents as well, or are they
Some
just
some
straight
are, but
up?
they're not really, not really. So
Okay.
we have like one where he still kind of does some stuff on the side, but he doesn't actually do anything for like traditional real estate. He also has an investment thing where he buys and flips homes. I guess you would say
Okay.
on the side. But these people, I mean, they were hired to do this.
Hmm.
They
That's
get paid by
great.
the company, and we interview. A lot of places when you get a mentor, they didn't hire this person. I was at another brokerage where anybody could be a mentor. All you had to do is take an online class,
Hmm.
and at the end they had a little quiz, and you take the quiz, and now you could be a
You're a
mentor.
mentor.
Yep. You could be a mentor. I met people who had been mentors. They had only had their license for a year. I'm like, how are you a mentor?
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's also usually pretty limited, right? So that brokerage, it's also a very, very top three brokerage. That lets anybody be a mentor pretty much, as long as you take the quiz. And they you only have them for 3 deals, three, and you're paying for them. 10% of your commission goes to that person, right? So 3 deals, and I'm like, you really think you're going to learn anything after 3 deals? You might not learn anything after 3 years.
Yeah.
You're still gonna have a lot of questions. So ours, we wanted ours to be forever, and that's what ours is.
Nice.
So it's forever. You always have a mentor, even if you're a seasoned agent. It's good to have a coach because
Yeah.
there's always another level we're all trying to get to in our careers.
Mm,
So there's this next level that you'll want to get to, and that's what a mentor can help you do. So
that's brilliant.
so we added that in. We added in transaction coordinators. These are people who do paperwork. Our agents don't have to do any paperwork. We have people who
Mm,
do paperwork for them. It's just
that's
like
awesome.
crazy, right? So we offer the leads, the listing photos, the yard signs, the lock. We offer the little lock boxes that go on doors. We also pay for any continuing education. Most professional positions have some kind of state mandated continuing education, so we pay for
Mm,
all of that. The car washes, we do social media management for them. We post to the social media for them. We run ads for them and pay for it. I mean, we just do so much. So this year, this past 2022, we added a crazy amount the last quarter. Okay, so now we do digital billboards. So all of us
wow.
have billboards now, which is like phew, crazy. I've never seen a brokerage do a billboard for an agent. I've seen them do it
Mm,
for themselves. Like,
yeah.
this brokerage is the
Yeah.
best.
Come over here and yeah, bring your business, your book of business to us. But yeah.
Yeah, but they might have a billboard that says, number one home place or whatever, but nothing for their agents. Like, you never
Okay.
just, so we do for our agency, okay, their own local, like, billboard, right? So,
Mm,
so that was one, like, really, really cool thing that we got to add this year. We also started paying for things like headshots and stuff like that. But the biggest one, the granddaddy of benefits, what is the biggest benefit you could possibly imagine a company offering? Because it's also the most expensive.
yeah.
Healthcare,
Yeah.
right? Healthcare. And healthcare is just it's very expensive. It's very hard to get. A lot of people are very confused by how it works. It's always complicated,
Hmm.
and so we
Well,
change.
and it's difficult in a contractor's or a contractor's environment because you can't do group plans as easily. And
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so a lot of brokerages now offer basically like a group discount plan, right? You're on
okay.
some kind of group discount plan for that brokerage, right?
Mm,
And it's usually pretty comparable to what you could get in the healthcare.gov kind of
mm,
situation. So it's usually pretty comparable, maybe a little bit less, because you're part of a group, but it's going to be pretty comparable. You're still going to have the same crazy deductibles. You're still going to have all this stuff, and it's going to take you weeks to see your doctor, and just kind of like what normally sucks about healthcare, right?
yeah.
So so we've been looking and looking and looking for a situation to solve our issue of wanting to offer some healthcare, and this all came because I personally found a local doctor in
Okay.
Houston who does direct primary care. And
Yep.
direct primary care is, just for you guys who don't know, is something that insurance cannot give you.
Hmm.
It's what it is if you don't know, it is direct access to your doctor. So, and what I and these direct primary care physicians, they don't take on 6,000 patients.
Hmm.
A normal doctor's office, the reason it takes you 3 weeks to get in, and you have to go in, there's some rude receptionist that makes you wait in the lobby for an hour, to only wait in the room for 30 minutes for your doctor to come in to see him for 5 minutes.
Yep.
Uh, that situation is because they take on 6,000 patients.
Hmm.
Right? So direct primary physicians, they just take on a couple hundred people. They
Yep.
don't hire really any support staff usually. They if it's one person, like a nurse or something, one to help them with something.
Hmm.
But they only take out a couple hundred people instead of several thousand.
Yeah.
They don't work with insurance people. You just pay them directly. And
Hmm.
so I had found this direct primary care physician. It was costing me, a little over $100 a month to have
Nice.
direct access to a doctor I could just call.
Yeah.
Just call like the old days. You're like, hey doc,
Yeah.
got a question. I could
I,
call.
I joke because I've used a direct primary care physician for years. They were friends of mine from the business world. I
Yeah.
always joked with her husband. She's the doctor, and the husband's he's a professor at UT.
Oh,
And he's a finance professor, and so he came up with this concept and all that. And I said, yeah, it's like the old days of the doctor kind of doing house calls and all that. And he goes, yeah,
yeah.
we just don't get paid in chickens, but yeah,
Yeah. 3 chickens, please.
yeah, three chickens and yeah,
Yeah, no, and it's great.
great.
It allows them to have kind of a steady income, right? With
Yep,
the without having to have the billing staff, right? Because
that's
what they
correct.
don't know is they lose money on this bill. That's why they have to take on thousands of people,
Yeah.
and so insurance doesn't pay out or something.
Well, yeah, insurance typically pays in like 120 days. So, I mean,
And then medical billings are complicated. You have to hire
yep,
specialists for it. It just gets very complicated.
yeah,
So these people they just have some kind of like automatic monthly thing or whatever. So
perfect.
anyway, so I signed up with a primary care physician. Told him a little bit about my company,
Mhm,
and I told him how cool I thought direct primary care was,
mhm,
and he said, well, if you ever look for your company, I actually might have a solution for you because we
mhm.
work with this other company. And at this point, by the way, I don't want to say we'd given up on healthcare, but we'd
Yeah,
gotten very distracted by other things and thought, okay, well, we'll just let's put a pin in this because it seems very
we'll,
complicated.
we'll see if we can figure this out. Yeah,
So I got in contact with this company, and what they're able to do for us was allow us to give all of our agents direct primary care.
brilliant.
So now it's virtual.
Yeah,
And people are familiar with virtual doctors like Teledoc, but that's where you always
mhm,
just see a different doctor, right? You get on
yeah,
there and
yeah,
it's somebody, they pop up on your screen, you're like, hey, here's my
yeah.
problem. This is direct primary care with your local doctor, right? So
Nice.
you get a local doctor, and so you can you can text them, you can call them, and you can get
Mhm,
same day appointments, which is the benefit of direct primary care, right? Same day.
yep.
And so you have that direct relationship with them, and then in addition to that, the agents are now getting kind of built into this because it's a whole package. In
Mhm,
addition to that, they're getting 24/7 virtual urgent care. So if it's outside
okay.
doctor hours, right? Doctors have their normal office hours. If it's
Mhm,
outside of the office hours, you can do it's like a teledoc situation, right? You're
yeah.
seeing whatever doctor, and you're like, should I go to the hospital? Does this look weird? Can you prescribe me some antibiotics or something, right? And
Mhm,
they'll relay whatever happens to your regular direct doctor.
mhm.
All right, so it's those two, but then we are able to add free prescriptions to this. Okay,
Brilliant.
this covers over 1,000 prescriptions.
Mhm.
It's the top 95% prescribed medicines in the United States,
That's
all
amazing.
covered, all
Yeah.
included in part of it, right? And for the other 5% of prescriptions that aren't the most common, uh, those you get a discount card. You get it like
Mhm.
80% off. So
Yeah.
it beats Good RX like 70% of the time. It's very, very,
Brilliant.
very cheap. But all of it is just kind of included. The top 95% are all just included.
Mhm.
And then free mental health, virtual mental health. So it's kind of like one of
Nice.
the better help kind of situations, right? Where
Yeah.
you get a different doctor, you get or you get a licensed, therapist or whoever you
Yeah.
choose.
You don't have to go in and lay on your mentor's couch anymore. And
Right, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So you get all of this, and these are people you choose. You choose the doctor.
Brilliant.
You choose the therapist. You get your prescriptions. Your doctor calls them right into the prescription. They mail them to you for free,
Mhm.
or if it's emergency ones, they can call them into your local pharmacy and pick them up. But anyway, so all of that, and so we sat there and thought, okay, how do we how do we do this? This is a great
Mhm.
opportunity, but it's still expensive,
Yeah.
right? It's still expensive, even though we made it into a package of
Mhm.
4 different things, and if we force everyone to get it, then it will be whatever. So I guess it's kind of like when there's a will, there's a way. So
Mhm.
we eventually just kind of figured out because we were like, well, we can subsidize 85% of it. That was the long
Mhm.
time, really. So like they're going to have to pay this much, and it's not much. It's cheap. It's great. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I just couldn't get this out of my mind that, we just couldn't get out of our minds basically that we wanted it to be free.
Yeah.
And we figured it out, man. It is now
That's awesome.
100% free.
That is
We
awesome.
actually have people filling out stuff now in order to get it. It should be the end of February, probably February 28th, about the time this probably airs. But agents are going to get completely free direct primary care, completely free prescriptions, completely free mental health visits, and completely free
That's fantastic.
365.
Yeah. So all they need is a catastrophic care policy, and they're ready to rock and
Yeah,
roll.
or like a health share. I don't know
Yeah.
how people don't know about health share. I have health
Yeah.
share. It's amazing.
Yep.
because
I know.
it's a nonprofit company. They cover everything. It's
Mhm.
they cover what your insurance covers. And I will say this because legally it's not insurance, right?
Mhm.
But I think to me it's better because you don't have to be within their little network. You actually can go
Yeah.
anywhere. I actually went to the hospital and the lady was like, she goes, "Who's your insurance provider?" And I said, "Well, I have a health share plan." She didn't
Yeah.
bat an eyelash. She goes, "Which
Yeah.
one?" They're so used to hearing it. It's become so
Well, you
ubiquitous.
don't have to go in anymore. Oh, well, I'm a cash payer and all this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
most of them now, I mean, I've worked with health shares and, they give you a card just like normal and you just
Yeah,
hand it to them and, they
exactly.
take care of it. Yeah. Take care of it's the difference is they pay, versus the insurance companies that are, well, you have to code this and that, and then we won't pay. And
We won't pay if this, if that. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. So, yeah,
that's amazing.
and yeah, and you don't have to choose a hospital or doctor. It's a network and all that stuff, and that will pay for things like if you need a CT scan or if you need an
Yeah.
MRI, you need labs, you need whatever. All that will pay for all of that. And then I was worried about what would happen if you want to see your doctor in person, and
Yeah.
so I asked my doctor through this program. I was like, so what if I want to see you in person because we're both here in Houston.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's just a $49 in person visit if you want to come see
Okay.
me in person once. I was like, cool. So I did go see him in person.
Okay.
We had a lot to talk about. So I go see him in person and I was like, okay, at the end, I'm like, okay, I need to pay. He's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, oh. So I'm like, so we were like, is it easy to see a person, doctor in person? I was like, I guess it depends on your doctor. My doctor was pretty cool about it. He didn't care.
Yeah.
He was like, don't worry about it. You're good. So anyway, that healthcare thing is a big game changer.
Oh, it's
No
huge.
brokerage has ever offered anything even close to it. All they've ever been able to do is group discount plans. That's the most
Mhm.
anybody's been able to accomplish is just getting a group discount insurance,
Yeah.
and that's it. And so yeah, so that those are just some of the big benefits. I told you we're kind of making our wish list of
Mhm.
stuff,
Yeah.
and things were on it, and just slowly one by one we've been adding
That's
them.
fantastic.
You
That
know,
is fantastic.
we started off with a lot. We also started off with a lot of technology. My background, like I said, is in marketing, but
Yeah.
I'm also very into technology. So I started teaching myself how to make apps in 2008 when I
Okay.
saw the first app store. The first SDK, the software
Mm.
development kit, came out from Apple in 2008 with the second iPhone, and
Mm.
I taught myself how to do that. Shortly thereafter, Google came out with their SDK. I taught myself how to make apps. And so I
Mhm.
was making apps and websites and learning coding and just so much.
Yeah.
And so we've definitely brought all of that into Epic. So now we have
Perfect.
AI. We implement Chat GPT for those of you who've heard about that.
Okay.
It's amazing. It's been making headlines recently. We've implemented Google's AI system. We have Chat GPT enabled, like our own versions of it, enabled for agents. It automates an impossible amount of things.
Mm.
From anything you have to write to anything you have to do, it automates a lot. So it's cool. It's a different concept because we have
Mm.
taken the agent and put them at the true center of the brokerage.
Yeah, which is, I mean, usually they're at the bottom of the pile, and
Oh, the minions,
yeah.
right? I think a lot of brokerages look at the agents as the minions. They do
Yeah.
all the work, and the company takes all the credit,
Yeah.
right? Oh, we're number one in this state for we're like, well, your agents are. You're not anything.
Yeah.
You're just there. And so yeah, the agents do all the work, and the company takes all the credit and half the money. It's just so crazy. So we take a
Amazing.
much very small percentage compared to
Mm.
what these larger brokerages do. But we're actually an agent-owned company,
Really?
which is very different. So yeah, so all of our agents are shareholders in the company. You get
Okay.
shares when you join. You get shares when you sell something. When you hit certain metrics, you get shares. It's constant. You're always earning in the company. So
Yeah.
yeah, so all of our agents are owners in the company, which is also pretty different
That's
uh,
genius.
kind of mentality. I like to say everybody here is uh, is an employee. The agents are in charge. We're just the employees.
Yeah.
We all kind of work for them, and sometimes we'll even say that, like when we're talking to an agent and they have an issue, and they're like, "Oh, thank you so much for your help fixing this." We'll say, "We work for you.
Yeah.
I work for you." So
Yeah. And we're owners in the same company.
absolutely, for sure. So,
Yeah.
and it's and the agents usually give us a lot of great ideas too of how we
Yeah.
can change the company and grow the company. So,
That's phenomenal. So, what's you're in what states now? Is it just Texas or?
Yeah, so well, okay, so it's going to be a little bit of an announcement here.
Yeah.
So we started in Houston and Austin. Our broker of operations, he's in
Mm.
Austin, and I'm in Houston. And the other people who founded the company with me are two people. I have a twin sister. She is
Nice.
co-founder of the company, Janice Delsid, and then my husband, Christopher Miller, is a
Okay.
co-founder, and he does the most. Okay, I would say he's probably the hardest working person at the brokerage for sure. But he keeps us in line, which is cool.
Okay.
He's a taskmaster kind of situation, so he keeps us in line while we're flying off the handle, just going, doing whatever. Um, because I have a lot of
Coming up with all these things you're giving away to everybody.
yeah, he's got to rein us back in, like, whoa, 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 you want to be
Well, we actually have to make some money here too, guys.
yeah, 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 for sure. And this actually just happened yesterday because I was talking about this new idea I had, and I was like, "We're
Yeah.
gonna do this." And he's got kind of angry, and I was like, "What is your problem?" And he goes, "We don't have the money for that. You know how expensive that's gonna be." I'm like, "Yeah, but we'll figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
like it's just a different company. What could it cost? A couple hundred thousand? I mean, we'll figure it out."
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, this could take a long time and a lot of money. I'm like, okay, whatever, we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we
you
got
always
this.
got to have that reasonable person around,
Yep.
right? You got to have the dreamers,
Yep.
like me, and then you got to have the people who actually
You
get
got to have the reality people that pull us back down and go, "Hey, wait a minute."
right. And then I'm usually on to my next thing before I finish something. So he's the one
Yeah.
who actually gets these things done, and then
Yeah.
he also has ideas too stuff. But I will say him and Janice they are the engine of this company for sure.
Sure.
I'm just a pretty face, but
I
no.
know. That's why I tell my wife all the time. She's the one that gets shit done in the company, and I'm the pretty face. I'm the dancing monkey out front. So
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I feel that for sure. But yeah, so Houston and Austin, right? We pretty quickly
okay.
expanded into Dallas, San Antonio, all the way out
Okay.
to El Paso, all the way up to Amarillo,
Nice.
Christie. Like, so we couldn't expand all over Texas. Well, uh, the beginning of this year in January, I posted a video, and it was everything we had done in
Mm.
2022, and it was a lot. Okay, it was how we had given out 31,000 leads to our agents. We had sold over 300
Wow.
signs. We had our agents had done over 17,000 car washes. Right, we had done all these things, and it was just kind of a really cool video. All the stuff we're doing, and I get this email from somebody I used to work with at EXP, and he says when I was there, and he says he goes, I've been following your brand for a little while now. I
Mhm.
actually love your company. How do I get involved? And now let me tell you something. This isn't just an email from some other agent.
Yeah.
So Sam was actually the vice president of growth at EXP Realty.
Wow.
And he and I joined right around the same time when I was at EXP. Well, when I joined, I was one of the first 500 agents with that company. And so I was the only one in
And
Houston.
it's explosively grown since then.
Yeah, now I think they're at 80 something thousand, right? So,
Yeah.
um, and when he joined, I think they had around 1,500. Well, he helped
Yeah.
bring them from 1,500 to about 65,000.
Good God.
So his whole thing is, he is really good at sharing messages with people. He knows
Mhm.
it's not that he's a recruiter because he's not a recruiter like a normal recruiter. It's just so weird. Sam is the kind of person he knows what's next.
Mm.
He just knows. I don't know how. He's like an oracle or something for real estate. Like he knows the next thing. And so a lot of people listen to him. I listen to him. Everybody listens to him because he's just, he's one of those people. And so he's really good at telling people, hey, this is the next thing, and then bringing them along with him on the ride. So when he joined us, I thought, oh my God, we're the next thing.
Yeah.
If he thinks that we're the next thing, then we must be because this is what he does, right? And he did this with other companies too. And he's been, in growing brokerages. He's been involved in that for a long time.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, by the time this comes out, he'll be made his official announcement. So I don't mind announcing it to you first.
That's awesome.
But yeah,
Got
so
the scoop. This is awesome.
absolutely. So if you take us from, and by the way, so it's only been a week that we've, been kind of engaging in actually
Mhm.
brokerages, and in that time, we are moving to other states now. So we've already kind of
Okay.
spoken with brokerages, and he's helped us in that, and we're going to be growing to other states. We've assembled a team together for expansion, and that's led
Nice.
by Chris, who's going to bring us to these other states. And so right now we have a couple, two maybe three brokerages in California. So we're going
Okay.
to go to California, Nevada. We're going to Nevada. We have brokerages that want to join us and are ready to join us in
Mm.
Florida, New York State, Colorado, um, not Texas. Oh my God, I'm missing somewhere. New Mexico, Nevada, California, and then eventually, I don't know if we'll have this announced by then, but I'll say it anyway. Canada, we've actually assembled a team for Canada as well.
Brilliant.
So our goal is to be, a nationwide
Mm.
household name within the next 5 years. And
That's
so,
fantastic.
and so Sam, by the way, and I won't announce the other people, but let me tell you this: Sam actually has brought in people that do what he does and has done with other companies. So they,
Nice.
for I will say,
They're building a team instead of just him being the oracle. It's a whole team.
these are the builders. So I
Yeah.
will say he maybe he's like the general contractor,
Mm.
and these people are the builders, and they've built
Nice.
for the top five brokerages. 4 out of 5 of them are covered by these people. It's a group of 6 people.
Wow.
They have built, 4 out of 5 of the top brokerages. They have brought into new markets themselves. This is what
Mm.
they do. And so we have been connected with them. They trust Sam like I do. And then when they saw it, we just actually had a meeting the other day, and they were like, "Sam, you're right. There's nothing out there." A couple of them
Mm.
have done nothing. They've been waiting around to see what the next big thing is, and they haven't really seen anything that really drew their eye. And there's of course new brands that have come along, but nothing that
Mm.
really like one
Yeah.
one
Well,
of
it's
the
the same. It's the same old thing with a different name on it.
right. And we have, or they just have one little differentiator, right?
Mm.
But our whole concept is unique. So it's
Yeah.
totally different concept. And it comes from a totally different place, too. Just the core foundation and of the why do we exist? You should know your why, So
Mm.
our whole why is different. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so, but we're like, this is totally different. We are actually having people come out of retirement
Wow.
to build this brand. People who have built huge international companies, and they brought on tens and tens of thousands of agents into
Mm.
these companies,
Yeah.
are now coming out of retirement to build this brand because they believe in it so much. And by the way, these are not people that we've hired. It's not like we
Mm.
just borrowed a bunch of money. We're a debt-free company. We have
Yeah.
not borrowed anything. So we started this whole company with an Amex with a $5,000 limit. Okay, that's how we started.
Yeah.
Okay, and so these are people who are they're actually investing in our company, their time
Mm.
and their money, and they're going to be enjoying the perks of revenue share and things like that as we go on, and the agreements we set up with them. But these are not people we've just hired to
Yeah.
do. These are people who come out of retirement, are spending
Yeah.
their time, their money building our brand.
Well, they're believers.
Absolutely.
You've got something that they can believe in, and they're believers,
And
which
talk
is
about,
awesome.
man, I'm on this call, right? So talk about major imposter syndrome. I'm sitting there and I'm looking at all these people, and they're like, yeah, 30 years ago, I built this for this top two brokerage. And we brought in this many people and that many people in that brokerage, this one and that one. And the other one's like, oh, yeah, I ran a team with this many thousand people and I owned this territory and I did this. And I'm sitting here going, I'm just some guy. Like in
Yeah.
my mind, I'm like, I'm sure everybody has that feeling, I'm just some guy who started a brokerage a year and a half ago,
Mm.
in not even Houston, Katy, Texas,
Yeah.
like from his house. It was just it was during the pandemic, and I'm like, like thinking about how much I want something different, and I'm talking to to my husband, I'm talking to my sister, I'm
Mm.
talking to agents, and seeing like, is there an appetite for this? Is this a
Yeah.
thing?
I have
And
this idea, but is anybody else on the same page as I
for
am?
sure. Yeah, but I will say that I do think that's true, that you can't do anything great alone. There's just no way I could have done what we've done so far alone, and to go where we're going alone. And I think it's really about bringing the right people, and this
Yeah.
is the right people.
Mm.
These are people who, when executives at other brokerages, CEOs of other big brokerages, well-known people see this, they're going to be like,
Yeah.
what? So it really is a game changer. So I'm really excited about the growth. We are not trying to grow for growth's sake. We're not one of those brokerages where all we do is recruit and just and
Mm.
that's what we're known for and all that stuff. That's not what we're doing. We actually have really set this up to grow and to bring on the absolute best people.
Well, but I mean, you're also doing things that, the typical realtor is, okay, well, I'm here for a while and then okay, it wasn't what I thought. I'm going to go to the next place, the next place. I mean, you have something nobody else is doing.
Right.
So you're going to, if you hire the right people, they're going to be around for a long time.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
a lot of these other firms, I just don't see them. I mean, they might have to do something to compete, but I just don't see them changing their spots.
Right. Yeah, I know that
Yeah.
one of the people we brought on, she said, well, there's going to be people who might try to copy some stuff. I said,
Yeah.
look, they can add a digital billboard. They can
Yeah.
add some AI software. They can add healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay? But you know what? We have like five more things we're rolling out this year.
Yeah. Exactly.
That,
Yeah. We're
you
just going to
know,
keep doing more and more.
more and
Yeah.
more. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm not short of ideas. None of us are. We're not short
Yeah.
of ideas, right? So, and so I've said this before because I've had people steal my ideas and steal my words and things like that before.
Yeah.
But you can steal my ideas, but you can't steal my next idea.
Yeah.
I have a lot of them.
Yeah. I'm
So
really creative. I'll figure this out. Yeah.
don't worry. I have so many. I have a whole notebook dedicated to ideas. Okay, stuff that'll never happen
Yeah.
because I don't have the time or the will, or it's a bad idea, whatever.
Mhm.
But there's no shortage of new things that we can do. And by the time you catch up to us, we'll already be 3 years ahead. So
That's
go
amazing.
ahead and try. But that's fine. And I really actually, when I see people doing cool stuff, I actually like it. There are
Yeah.
brokerages out there who see it as competition. I actually really enjoy it because for one, it pushes me, right? That's what
Mhm.
capitalism is all about, right?
Yeah.
So it pushes us to be better for our agents and to offer more or to offer
Mhm.
more for less. But also it helps the agents as a whole,
Yeah.
right? There's a great benefit to everybody having a brokerage that does what we're doing. I still don't think. Let me say this: even as many benefits as they add, if they added every benefit we have, they wouldn't be us. And here's why:
Yeah.
it's the reactive approach.
Mhm.
People don't always go when they have a question. They don't want to look stupid,
Yeah.
right? It's like being at a restaurant. You have bad service, your food tastes bad. There are people who send it back. It's people who want to speak to the manager, but most people,
Or just going to suck it up and okay, I just won't come back again.
yes, exactly. They
Yeah.
vote with their feet, right? They just don't come back. They vote with their wallets. They don't come back. And that happens to real estate agents all the time. You're at a brokerage. No one cares if you're there. You have a problem. You don't want to reach out. You don't want to be the squeaky wheel. You don't want to be seen as a complainer. And even people who do complain, a lot of times you're, I'm not a big complainer, but
Yeah.
you nobody wants to be the complainer. I mean, there's a few people who
Yeah.
relish that kind
Who
of.
live by it, but yeah.
Yeah, most of them live in Boston. Trust me, I live there. But where there's a complaint, and I'm going to air it right now.
Yeah.
But I will say that most people, they just leave and don't come back, and so we try to take a proactive approach, kind of the equivalent of
Mhm.
the manager coming to the table saying, "Hey, is everything okay here?"
Yeah.
They actually no, she forgot my tortillas, man. So when we have these mentors, they are not supposed to just sit back and wait for someone, hey, call me if
Yeah.
you need me. They actually call their mentees and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you working on? Here was our goal that we set last week. What'd you do today to get towards
Mhm.
it? You need to work on it. I thought you were going to call this person. You need to call that person. Work your leads. Let's get a setup on the calendar to do some in-depth training on the MLS or on the software, something, right? So their job is to be proactive. And as we
Mhm.
grow into these other markets, the first thing we're looking for are mentors. And we don't
Yeah.
just bring on anybody. We're literally running ads on like Indeed and stuff to hire these mentors and
Hmm.
to bring them in and say, hey, like these are real mentors. There's no quiz involved. You just there's no
Yeah.
online certification
Yeah.
course.
These are people that are mentors already that you're
Yes,
bringing.
and
Yeah.
a lot of them are brokers or they've ran
Okay.
teams or they have that experience in doing that, right?
Mhm.
A lot of them had their own brokerage at some point,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so that's we're trying to build this hierarchy of support so that you have just so many support levels. You have your mentors, you have the
Mm.
licensed supervisor, you have the broker, we have a concierge team of assistants that do work for you. We have all of these different levels, so you always have somebody that
Mm.
you can turn to, and then
Yeah.
there's going to be people actually reaching out to you as opposed to
Mm.
just waiting to hear back from you.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, it's so excited for you. I mean, it's amazing what you're doing. It's needed. From what I've seen, I've got a lot of friends that are realtors, and like I said, I watch them bounce from firm to firm to firm to firm, and it's just, it's not going to be any greener someplace else. You're going to just bounce to the next one that it's just a different color of green.
Yeah, for
as
sure.
you bounce out. So it's exciting to see what y'all are doing, and I'm glad you shared that with us today, and we'll be the one that scoops the world
Yeah.
as this gets out. So I'm so excited for that. Josh, thank you for being on today. I
Yeah,
really appreciated your story and certainly what's going on in your world.
absolutely. And if I can give any advice to any entrepreneurs out there
Yep.
who are thinking about starting their own business, and you have just a $5,000 credit card and a
Yeah.
big idea that it would cost way too much money than you could ever possibly afford, my best advice is don't listen to anyone. No one.
Yeah.
Absolutely no one. If you have an idea, just do it,
Hmm.
because I'm telling you, people come from a place of good. And I can't tell you how many people told me to sell my business when I had 10 agents,
Hmm.
or something like that, or don't do this, just join this and do that. And you know what? You'll never scratch that itch if you don't just do it. And don't take advice from. I hate to say that, even if they're experts, don't take their advice. You know what you're supposed to be doing. Just follow it and keep working and don't give up. Because, like, I will tell you, the number one thing that almost derailed this company was advice.
Yeah.
It's just one of the worst things you could possibly do is seek out advice.
It's funny because I went through a training program because I'm launching a real estate operation out of one of my companies and focusing on wholesaling. And I'm talking to realtors and every one of them, yeah. And the guy is funny going through the course. Guys are like, yeah. I mean, realtors are going to be your biggest enemy because everybody's going to say you can't do what you're going to do. And I'm like, yep. Everybody I've talked to, nope, can't be done. Nope. And I'm like, we're already closing deals, so
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, I was told that we couldn't scale.
Yeah, not possible.
Mhm. People ask us, how do you guys make money? I'm like, what are you talking about? We charge. We don't spend it all. We keep our
Yeah,
expenses. How does any company make money? What are you talking
yeah,
about? We
yeah.
charge for our
We
services.
don't spend money on stupid shit. And
Yeah, I mean, like, what do you mean? We make money, we spend it, we keep the profits. I don't
yeah,
understand what that whole what's the catch? I'm like, you gotta have a real estate license. And I mean,
mhm,
there's like
yeah,
we gotta hire you. I don't
yeah.
know. What
And you
else?
got to work. You can't
Yeah,
just sit around on your butt. Yeah,
for sure. So, but yeah, I've definitely heard all of that. That no, it can't be
yep.
done.
Oh,
The
can't be done.
why don't you
Nope.
try, have you thought about doing this thing instead? And that
Mhm.
was probably the worst one because then you think maybe. And
Yeah.
now I've gotten to the point where, and I love all my friends and family, but whenever somebody says, have you thought about doing this or why don't you try this or whatever, I say, oh, it's a great idea. And I just go,
Mm.
no, don't
Yeah.
do
No,
that.
I'm never going to do that. Yeah.
That's not my vision. Just stick with your vision. Whatever your
Yeah.
vision is, if it's not that, don't do it. And you know what? That way, if you fail, at least it was your thing that failed, and it
Mhm.
wasn't because of somebody else that you're going to then hold accountable or resent or whatever. Just ignore anybody, unless they're saying, wow, you're doing great.
Yep.
Just say thanks, but no thanks, and kind of
Yeah.
move.
Thank you for the advice. I'll take that into account as
Yeah,
I go.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, folks, and Josh, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, let's say an agent that's out there or a brokerage that's looking for a new home, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so join epique.com,
Okay.
EPIQE, because it has all of our benefits, everything on there, but it also has ways to schedule meetings with me, to
Mm,
find out more, to attend a webinar. I mean, everything's on that one site. So,
yeah.
join epique.com.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for being on. And folks, this is such a cool story. And I love telling the stories of entrepreneurs that are out there. So if you're an agent, you're looking for a new home, you know where to go. And always, every 2 days, every Tuesday and Thursday, we do these shows. So we look forward to seeing you back next time. And y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thanks, Jeff.